Do you want me to talk about the Trojan horse?
Ooh, so look, there was this like conspiracy around a group of Muslim educators and board members that the outside school district thought they were trying to creeping Sharia. They were trying to bring in this extremism into schools, when in reality it was a group of concerned Muslim parents and educators who started to emphasize, they started to put a lot of emphasis on crafting curriculum and outside world that would help these Muslim students who are struggling, right? Am I ballpark?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
You have explained it exactly how it was.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Boonaa Mohammed welcoming you back to the Muslimi Experience. This is a new podcast where we are so privileged to be able to sit down and speak with, influencers, entertainers, scholars, you name it, and really kind of dissect and understand their experience and how they've been able to navigate this Muslim space and even just their lives in general. And we are so honored to have my brother here, Bustami, who's joining us. Assalamu alaikum, akhi. We're gonna run over the mics.
Yeah, good, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. All the way from the UK, from Brumtown.
From Birmingham.
What's the nickname for Birmingham? What's like the I know they call you guys Brummies.
I mean, it's Birmingham. It's Brummies, it's Birmingham Sharif, the fourth holiest place in the world.
Birmingham Sharif. I love the Birmingham accent, by the way. And I always found it ironic that in such a small country like the UK, you drive like 30 minutes north or west, and it's a new accent.
That's correct, yeah. But you might be one of the few people who like the accent. Because what they say is the people from Birmingham are the best people until they start speaking.
That's not fair.
It's not fair. No.
I know. I mean, Birmingham is like probably one of my favorite cities.
No. Birmingham is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful place. There's nothing else like it in the world. I mean, we do have our challenges and whatnot, but it's home. Been there for a while.
I mean, Coventry Road alone feels like a Muslim country.
Yes.
That's one of those places where you go and you feel the power of community. You feel the power of Islam.
100%, especially during Ramadan. People don't sleep.
Yeah.
And it's packed. All the vendors are out. The streets are just full of people from just after Taraweeh all the way till Fajr.
Yeah.
And it just feels like you're in an Arab country.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
Now, I know you in many different capacities. I know you as an artist. I know you as a playwright. I know you as a performer. I know you as an educator. A lot of people may not know that you have all these different worlds of experience. Let's go to the beginning. Okay, when we talk about Bustami and we talk about you as an individual, as a creative, as an artist, what's your origin story? Like, where did you come from?
I was born in Medina, in Saudi, and I'm originally from Sudan.
Allahu Akbar.
So as my father was a professor, Allah yarhamu, he passed away a few years ago. He used to travel constantly for his work, and we as his family, we used to travel with him. So we were always relocating. So Saudi, Sudan, Edinburgh, New Jersey, Birmingham. So all of these different places. So it was very difficult to kind of fit in within one sort of community. So we were just trying to explore different avenues, and I am so glad that the creative industry was my outlet, the thing which I kind of really embodied and I enjoyed, and I thought, I'm gonna get into this and run with it all the way. But then my pops said, la 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 la, where are you going? No, you have to go to university,
become a doctor.
Yeah.
What did he want you to do?
He said, as long as you have a respectable career, I don't care what it is.
Allahu Akbar.
Because obviously he's he's a professor, and all of my brother and all of my sisters, they all have respectable careers, mashallah. And so I didn't know what to do when I was in college, which is 2 years after school, just before university. I was clueless. I had no idea what I was going to do. didn't know what course I was going to study at university. I just chose some random subjects in college. 6 months before my finals, I got kicked out.
Why?
I was a bit of a troublemaker back then.
You still are a little bit of a troublemaker. Not much has changed.
No. So I got kicked out of college, and first thing was, went home. I didn't know what to say to my pops, so I didn't tell him. So I told my mom.
Okay.
And then she went and told him, and the next morning he just came. He says, "So what's the plan?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, I'll support you in any venture." And I knew I couldn't just go get a job. I knew I had to continue. I said, "I'll take the year again." No. You're going to waste a year? He's like, "La." He goes, "This is what we're going to do. You're going to come with me to the university every single day. You're going to study for your A-levels every single day." And this is Birmingham University, a really prestigious university, alhamdulillah. And he was a professor of philosophy, theology, and Islamic studies. So he was one of the senior lecturers there.
MashaAllah.
And so I didn't want to go. But then in the end, I couldn't say no. And it was the best decision that I could have ever done, because every single day I'm in a new environment. I'm away from the streets, away from people who are taking me down the wrong path. I'm seeing a beautiful campus, educators, people just wanting to study, people sitting on their own just reading. And for me, that's like, people had to tell me to read. So that was really inspirational. And the most important thing was seeing and just hanging around all of his staff members, all of his colleagues. I learned so much in those 6 months from all of these individuals, so much life skills, knowledge, and at times I didn't know what I was studying. Like, it was quite difficult. And my pops, he kind of understood that. He wouldn't tell me, "Do you need help in something?" He just went to his class in front of 300 students. He put his hand up and he said, "Put your hand up if you are very good at maths." All the students put their hand up, and he just selected, you're going to private tutor my son. Yeah, come to the office on this day. Who's good at iced tea?
Wow.
They put their hand up. So I was getting all these academics, undergraduate students becoming my private tutors for free.
Wow.
Because they wanted to keep my pops happy, because they wanted to pass the course.
Smart students.
Pass the module. So that was my journey, and eventually I passed all of my A-levels. If I was in school, if I was in college, I don't think I would have got any of those grades that I got. So I had the support from the colleagues, all these academic members of staff, all of these students, and just had this great environment of inspiration. And that is what got me onto the journey of becoming a teacher. Because that was when I thought, this is amazing. I'm going to become a teacher. So then I was so excited. I went to my dad. I was like, "Halas, I know what I want to do. I want to be a teacher." He's like, la. Choose any other profession.
What even
teaching? He's like, no. You're not going to enjoy it. I know what you like. You're not going to enjoy it. But let me tell you something. I went to university. I studied sports science. I graduated I graduated, and I just couldn't get into. No one was accepting me, so I can pursue to get my PGCE, which is a teaching qualification. For 3 years, I was kept getting rejected. But then I just decided, let me pursue the arts, and that's where I pursued it with my brother Farid and Abdullah. We became Fursan, and that's where, remember, we taught in Sweden.
I do remember. I mean, we'll get to that part, because I think that's a secondary part of your journey. But really, this first part, this introduction to you as an educator, right?
Yeah.
Being in the field of education as a young Black teacher, what was that like, even entering the school system?
At the beginning, let me tell you something. Education and being a school teacher, it is the best profession in the world. Wallahi al-Azim. If I can just teach people for the rest of my life, especially young people, I'll do it. This is for me. It's just the fire that you see amongst young people, and the way their face just lights up when you tell them inspirational stories. So my style is completely different. You know, I became director of sport. I was managing, you know, a number of the team in my department. There was quite a few of them,
MashaAllah.
and it was a very hectic position, but it was the best department in the school. Every person wanted to be in our department. I had colleagues saying, "Buster, we just want to, I just hang around in your office." You know, it was so good. And like before the lesson even finished, I have a whole lineup of students outside waiting to come into my lesson.
Wow.
And and then but then it caused some issues because other teachers in different departments used to come to me and say, "What are you doing that's so exciting in your department?" I'm like, we're just having fun constantly, but we're teaching through fun, through fun elements, and a lot of teachers had an issue with that. Some teachers came up to me and said, "We just want to shake your hand because all we're hearing is your name in class.
Allah.
Mr. Bustami this, Mr. Bustami that." Absolutely. And for me, I didn't even know none of that. I didn't care about none of that stuff. The moment you come into the sports department, it's on. They knew exactly what to do from the moment they stepped in. It was a bit like a regimented type of department. Nobody would speak. They'd come in, they have 3 minutes to get changed into their kit. If they're not changing in a kit, they have to put their uniform back on. They have another 3 minutes. And if they're not, it's just the whole, but it's like set the standards from the start. And that's what allowed the smooth running of the lessons. And of course I got myself qualified as a football coach. Of course, it's as a soccer coach. And that really bonded myself with the students because everyone loves football back there in the UK. So, and then I got all my coaching badges, and I managed to go to New York, and I was a football coach for New York Red Bulls and LA Galaxy. I did that for a number of years. I was a youth coach and a talent scout. Those were the best years. We had a lot of fun at the time. And we used to play, New York Red Bull used to play in the Giants Stadium. So every weekend we were there, and everyone thought I was one of the players, and we were just like, yalla, bismillah, let's roll with it. You know, everyone wanted to take my autograph, and it was just living that fake celebrity lifestyle.
Right.
But
the one that I'm living now. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
But that was like, that was like, so you got the teaching and then the football coaching, but then I amalgamated both of them together and then set up a football academy in the UK. In Birmingham, we had about 150 students every weekend. We were coaching five coaching staff members, and we were really building connections with all of the football academies in the country, in the Premier League, Division 1 and the Championship, and they really knew the name of the academy. Even till today, you know, it's been about 12 years, and even till today, a lot of people within our community still call me Coach Buster, Coach Buster, and I'm like, yeah, that's a long time ago, but they're like, no, you're still our coach.
Yeah.
You know, we travel all over. I played football in Yemen. I played football in the Yemen National Stadium live on TV.
What position?
I was a centre back, so I'd break legs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But to be fair, that's not the position I like scoring goals.
Everyone wants to be striker.
Everyone wants to be the striker.
Everyone wants to be the guy in the front.
Oh yeah, they get all the
accolades, all the awards.
Yeah, exactly. So so at that period, football for me was a major role in my life. And then I kind of dabbled into the creative elements of stuff. And within that, it made the sports lessons even more exciting for the students, because I used to rap the register, and the kids were in rhythm, like saying, like I'd be like, "Yo, Mohammed," and then "Yes, sir," "Yo, Michael," "Yo, yes, sir." You know what I mean? So it was like that, and whoever would mess up the rhythm, we'd start the whole register from the beginning. So it was such an inspiring environment. But subhanAllah, teaching didn't love me the way I loved teaching. And I was in the profession for 10 years. And I decided to pack it all in
But isn't it how ironic that like even your experiences being the son of an educator, right? Having that passion in those topics, having access to young people, it's all kind of sets you up for where you are now. Like all these things that happened in your life previously, like even I didn't know you were a coach, but now I can see it. Now I'm like, oh yeah. And that skill set you've been able to utilize in other capacities, right? As an artist and as a mentor. So who are some of the other key figures, the other starring characters in your life, especially when you were transitioning now? Like you're an educator, you're doing that for 10 years. What's sparking this now journey of using art? Like who are some of the people or what are some of the experiences that kind of kickstarted this journey of like, oh, well, now I can transition into art?
To be fair, I didn't know where to start within art. I was part of a collective called Artistic Souls. There was like 25 of us. And right now, a few of them have broken, they're in the UK music scene. Some of them have broken into Hollywood and stuff like that. But we were all supporting each other from the get-go. We didn't know what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And then there was another brother in the group who was a Muslim guy. And we're like, hey, let's do some more stuff together. Mm-hmm. Let's try and write some Islamic content.
Oh, so was that group mainly like was it a mix of everyone?
There's a mix of everyone.
Right.
So me and the brother, we just decided to hit all the Islamic societies and we were just bouncing off each other, just poetry. And then we did itikaf one year in Ramadan, and we met another brother who plays the drums and who sings. So then we taught ourselves how to play the drums. Now we're a trio. And all of a sudden, we're performing in Lyon in front of 6,000 people. We're performing in Belgium. We're performing in Sweden. We're performing in Denmark. We're performing everywhere. We went to about 15 countries with them. And wallahi, let me tell you something. We didn't know what we were doing. We were having fun.
Yeah.
And that was the period before I became a teacher, before I got qualified.
I see.
So that 3-year period of trying to get into teaching, I was going nowhere. I didn't want to get into a different career path. So we were just having fun. We'd get paid and then we'd stay in that country for the whole week. And we had a caravan. We'd stay in that country for the whole week, blow all our money. We knew that next weekend we were in another country. So we'll drive to that country. It was the best time.
I mean, when you guys decided to come up with this trio, when you found, okay, there's me, there's these two other brothers, how did you settle on that name? Like the group was called Fursan?
Fursan.
Okay, Fursan. What does that mean? And how did you guys come up with that name?
You know how difficult it is to come up with names.
It's very difficult.
You know, so we were just sitting on it for ages. We didn't know. And then it's just called the Knight. It just means the knights. You know, knights who are riding horses. And we just thought, hey, it's pretty cool. There's nobody else. There's no correlation to what we do. I have no idea why we called it Fursan. But people knew. It stuck even till today. Yeah. Hey, are you still Fursan? I'm like, bro, man, the journey's evolved. We've gone. That was like,
what if somebody's going Coach Fursan? Like it's like mixing all your old past together.
There's Coach Buster, there's Fursan. Like, you know, things have changed. So, but then there was a brother in the city who saw, you know, me doing some poetry, and he was organizing the Dangerous Ideas tour, and that was with Amir Suleiman.
Yes,
and the OG. So imagine this young dude. I didn't even, and I used to listen to Def Poetry Jam religiously.
A lot of these young guys don't even know what that is, by the way.
No, that is what, that's my early education. So when you see the way I write and the way I move on stage, a lot of it is because of Def Poetry Jam. And Amir Suleiman was on there. So when the brother told me, we got Amir Suleiman and you're going to open up for him around the UK. I was like, let's go with it. Bismillah. And it was the most amazing experience. And that was one of the starting, that was one of the journeys, and he was one of the individuals who really supported my path early on. He opened doors and gave me opportunities, and we still work together till this day. We support each other. He's an artist. His name is Muhammad Ali.
Oh, Aerosol. Yes.
Aerosol. He's my big brother. Alhamdulillah. So we're always in contact, and every single person does need a mentor, especially if they're starting up from a very young age.
It's massive.
and he kind of picked me up, held my hand, and gave me opportunities, and this has allowed me to kind of do the same sort of thing to all these artists who I see needing additional support. So I speak to everybody, and I give everyone guidance, feedback, support, but then the ones who really shine through, the ones who you really see them trying to break through and working even harder than everybody else, they're the ones who need, you come here. I'm going to support you even further. You know what it's like, bro.
I do.
Because we're both doing the same thing.
I know.
I
mean, the thing that I love about what you've been able to accomplish is, and it's hard sometimes in the Muslim community to see people transition into different roles. A lot of times people know you in one way, and then for you to say, like, you started off as a teacher, and then to say, oh, no, I'm an artist. For some people, it's like, oh, you can do both? Like, how?
So while I was teaching, I was running my academy, and I was also touring as well as an artist. The moment I leave school, I forget about school. Literally, the moment I step out of the school grounds, go straight into the studio, stay there all night, and then if I have coaching, I'd run to coaching, coach all the kids, go back to the studio, and I would sleep at 2 a.m. every day. I'd be up at 7 a.m. And the best thing about it was working in school Monday to Friday. Friday night, you catch a flight. You go to another country, and then you're performing on Saturday. Sunday morning, you're back. Monday morning, you're back in school. Everyone's like, hey, how was your weekend? I'm like, yo, it was exhausting, but it was okay. But I would never tell them what I was doing. Never tell anyone in school what I was doing.
Why?
I didn't want it to. I didn't want any conflict. But then eventually, some students did find out who I was. And the comments on the YouTube videos absolutely filled with, oh, that's my teacher. Oh, he's amazing. Oh, that's my teacher. Mr. Bustami this, Mr. Bustami, all this. It was just full of students commenting. And that was really, 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 really wholesome, And when I left that one school, then I decided to become a substitute teacher. So then I'm just traveling to different schools, long-term contracts. I remember at this one school, I was at a girls' school, and then at break time, I just open the door and I see about 60 year 7, like 12-year-olds standing outside. Every single one is holding a piece of paper in their hand, and they said, "Sir, can we have your autograph?" And they showed me a picture. I'm like, where'd you get that picture? Picture of me? Oh, we got it from YouTube, from Google. We just printed it and gave it to all the students.
Oh man!
And then I'm just signing it, and I did not want. I didn't want, but it was a nice moment. But I knew what was going to happen. I get sent to the head teacher's office, and she was like, "So who are you?"
Oh man!
I'm like, "Here we go," and I didn't stay at that school. They let me go.
But you'd think that would be like a good thing. Like, you're still a staff member, you're still doing your job. No. But you have this, I mean.
They just want you to focus on the job.
Right.
Yeah. This is what you do. Focus on the job. Give it 150%. But what I was doing, everything I was doing outside was inspiring the students much more than me being in school. I started to incorporate. So then some schools were like, can you run all the assemblies? I was like, brilliant. So before you know it, I'm writing a song, and the whole school is singing the assembly. Every morning they're singing the anthem, became the school anthem, and it just uplifted the atmosphere within the school. And every morning it was just amazing. But because I was, do you want me to talk about the Trojan horse?
Ooh, so look. So I know about the Trojan horse. These guys don't. Let's talk about the Trojan horse. So here's one thing that I'll tell you what I know, okay? And you fill in the blanks. This is for all the listeners and the viewers, okay? So, and I guess, it was in Birmingham. Yes, it was. I thought it might have been in Manchester. So from what I understand, there was this like conspiracy around a group of Muslim educators and board members that the outside school district thought they were trying to like, creeping Sharia. They were trying to like, bring in this extremism into schools, when in reality, it was a group of concerned Muslim parents and educators who started to emphasize, they started to put a lot of emphasis on crafting curriculum and outside world that would help these Muslim students who were struggling, right? Because I think Birmingham had one of the lowest test scores like across the country, and it was very, very poor. And then they started bringing in different Muslim teachers, and they started bringing in more kind of Islamic inspired curriculum, which helped the students. But then the outside community started seeing, and then there was some letter that was sent. I know this part, okay? There was a letter that was sent, and it made it seem like it was part of a larger conversation between one of the school board trustees and this mysterious person who said like, oh yeah, we're working on this plan of taking down the school system by imposing our will and putting in these, parent student councils or whatever, to the extent where then the Muslims that were behind this initiative ended up getting booted. They ended up getting kicked out of the board. A lot of teachers lost their jobs, and that school board, or that, I guess, district, suffered because of it. A lot of the students ended up kind of regressing in their studies. Am I ballpark?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
You have explained it exactly how it was. So once I got qualified as a teacher, I worked at that school.
Are we allowed to say the school?
Which was called Parkview Academy.
Yes.
Yeah. So within 6 months, I got promoted. I went to the head teacher's office, and he just invited me. He says, listen, I need to speak to you. He says, I'm promoting you to director of sport. I says, what do I need to do? He goes, you're doing it already. So he just increased my pay. And for me, it was like, I'm going to give them even more. Give them as much support, incorporate all the different skill sets that I have from outside and bring it into the school. So I was there. I stayed there for 6 years. I went through the whole process of the scandal. I was there. I was one of 2 Muslim teachers who remained at the school.
Oh my God, what was his name? The brother, the main dude that they accused of. I mean, I listened to a podcast around it.
Yeah.
What was his name? The main dude who. He was like he was a tutor who then joined. Okay. Anyways, I forget his name.
I can't remember his name because it's been a while since I kind of came across him or spoke with him.
Right.
But he was he really supported me before my journey.
He was a trustee.
He was a trustee. So a lot of people don't know, but I went to him and I said, I want to become a school teacher. Way before I got qualified. I says, can you help me in any way? And he really guided me to the right people. And that's how I was able to get my teaching qualification. So then Parkview School just wanted to recruit inspirational Muslim teachers who were doing amazing things within the community, because the school was in a underprivileged environment, is underprivileged community. They had no resources, they had no inspiration, riddled with drugs, crime, gangs. And it was a Muslim community.
Yes. Where is it?
It's in Alam Rock.
Alam Rock, yes.
Yeah, so this school came in, and from it having a pass rate of 3%, it went, after 15 years, like it went up to 97% pass rate. And they were sending kids to Oxford, Cambridge, to the top universities. And even the government was supporting. They said, here's a bunch of money. Here are 5 schools. We would love for you guys to
do the same thing.
And then this letter came out of nowhere.
Explain the letter now. What was this letter?
This letter was...
it's like, when I'm seeing it from the outside, I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. It's like the silly... but explain the letter. Like, what exactly happened?
The letter just came to light, and
so a letter was given to who?
The letter was given to the media,
right,
and sent to the city council.
Right, and
they looked at the letter.
What did this letter like? What was it? What was the letter about?
It just said Muslims are trying to take over and brainwash the whole school and the Muslim extremists, and it was complete nonsense.
But the way it was done, it was supposed to be like a message between two people. Between this Muslim brother, this trustee, and this anonymous source that he was communicating with.
And this anonymous source is a good friend with this trustee.
Yes,
and the whole community knows who wrote the letter.
Oh, we know
who wrote the letter.
Can we say it?
No.
No, we can't say it. All right.
No.
After this commercial break, no, we won't
we
say
know who wrote the letter.
Yeah.
But this individual is being protected.
Yeah.
Protected by the
system.
By the system. And but it's affected us in so many ways. I had about over 30 teachers who got suspended. I know over 50 of the best teachers who our Muslim kids, they need individuals like this in their lives. They've all quit the profession and they've all gone down different paths. And you know, I got affected after, you know, just being within the school after the scandal, you know, change of leadership. It was tough, absolutely horrific environment to be in. And then I decided to leave. And every school I went into to try and I decided to just become a substitute, like I said.
So you were let go from Alum Rock?
No, I couldn't handle it no more.
I see.
So I handed in my notice.
Before the whole thing blew up, or?
No, this was 4 years later.
Ajib.
So from that period, we went through 4 different principals. And they brought a Muslim principal who they thought was a superhead. He was the worst individual I have ever come across. And every single teacher within that school had issues with him, and everybody left. So he was like, the first meeting that we had with him, he said, listen, the old regime is gone. This school is going on a journey on a bus. You're either with us or go find another bus. If you want to find another bus, I'll help you. That's the first thing he said to us. And a lot of people just decided to pack their bags and go. But it really did affect me. But I had the creative art, which was my outlet. Whereas a lot of teachers didn't have.
Well, I mean, a lot of lives were ruined by it.
Too many.
People were like, you know, they're blasted in the media. Their names were never cleared. They were told, I mean, publicly that they were like, you know, empathetic towards these like terrorist groups overseas, and they really demonized a lot of these Muslim staff members. This is what I understand from the outside.
100%.
To the extent where a lot of them never recovered, a lot of them never got back in the school board, a lot of them had to just change professions.
Yep, I know at least 2 of them who are banned indefinitely from education. It not just the teachers. It broke the community apart.
Yeah.
The kids suffered 100%. Now the school is failing.
That same school,
they had to change the name of the school and everything. The school literally it started to go down, and now, you know, I don't follow the results of the school no more. But I hope the community has recovered from this, because only until the podcast came out last year. And this is what we're talking about 9 years ago, 2014. This is when I felt content in my heart.
You know, the thing listening to that podcast that actually I learned from it the most, the biggest enemy we have is ourselves.
Yeah, stop on.
There's no one else outside we have to worry about.
No, and the person who wrote the letter is a Muslim.
I know. Can I say
no? They need to watch the podcast.
Yeah,
they need to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
It's absolutely phenomenal. It's podcast created by the New York Times, and it was the most downloaded podcast in that period, in that year.
I listened to it and I was super attentive because I was like, oh, I've seen this thing play out many different times. The fact that we internally as a community, you know, and this is the problem, like, you know, we have this, I don't know if it's hased, I don't know if it's jealousy, I don't know if it's whatever, where we feel the need to compete with one another, not complete one another, not complement one another, right? Like you see someone doing well and it's like, oh, why do they have this? Why I could do better, you know? Or if you give an opportunity to collaborate, it's like, oh no, I don't need to work with them. I could do my own thing, right? Like this disease that exists within our community is part of the reason why we're so far behind.
That's so true. And we don't want to see each other flourish, and we don't want to see each other. We're not happy for each other's success. You know, we just want to take each other down. And this is one of the main issues within our community, especially within the UK. So after
sorry I had to take you down that road. I know it's not an easy thing to talk about, but it's a topic that a lot of people outside of the UK don't know about, and I think a lot of us can learn from it.
Yes.
Because it's one of those lessons that as a Muslim community, we should be able to pick up the signs and understand like how that whole thing played out. And systematically, Muslim educators, Muslim students, everyone was affected. And it was under this guise of extremism and, and they still use that kind of language, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are the other. We're never British enough. We're never American enough. We're never Canadian enough. There's always this external threat. It doesn't matter how much you contribute, how much you support, the establishment, you're still seen as the other.
Of course. And what Parkview wanted to do at the time was they had all these resources and they just wanted to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
The same as every other school, every other state funded school. And they would give so much resources to the staff members. They were training me to become a sailor.
A sailor?
Yeah.
Ajib.
Because we wanted to go on a sailing trip twice a year for 2 weeks, take all the students across the English Channel. So I was on a 6-month training course to become a sailor.
SubhanAllah.
The best experience of my life. It just didn't happen because of everything that went down. And then after I left the Parkview, I decided to become a substitute teacher, and every school said, "Yep, we love your resume. Brilliant." Every agency. We love your resume. All right, I'm going to forward it to the school. And you need to remember, as a substitute teacher, the leadership don't get the decision to who is going to be working at that school at the day.
Right.
It's the individual in the reception who's in charge of that department. Oh, we have a teacher missing. All right, we need to fill them up. So they're the ones who make the decision. So they gave me long-term contracts, 6 months, 8 months, but I would only last a month.
Why?
And they'll cancel the contract. It's just my nature. I love the profession. I throw myself in it. I'm not in it for the money. I'm trying to inspire individuals in any aspect. I have so much worldly experience, and I just love telling stories. And these kids are gripped to the stories. Yo, sir, tell us more. Yo, sir, tell us more. I wish there were more teachers like you. I wish my father was like you. To that element. And some of them had no parent, no father, living in single homes. And they're like, sir, you're like my older brother. And for me, this was, I couldn't leave them be because I thought this is my duty. But then when the management find out, this guy's too influential, let me see his resume. Let me see his CV. Parkview. No. I get a call from the agency. Mr. Bustami, I'm afraid that the school doesn't want you again.
SubhanAllah.
And that happened in 6 schools.
Wow.
6 schools. And the last school was last year. And 12 months ago, that's where I decided, khalas. I can't go down this environment of not being wanted. Why am I giving so much and they just don't appreciate you? It was the hardest decision of my life to quit teaching. I'm getting emotional about it because I just love it so much.
But I think in many ways, that experience has set you up for something bigger. I think knowing your trajectory and what you want to accomplish, all these experiences, being in the school, being around youth, like mashallah tabarakallah, this is giving you perspective. This is giving you insight into the issues that are affecting our young folks, the issues that, we can see as potential solutions even down the line, that without having been in those spaces, you may not have been exposed to them, right? So I think now I learned some of the villains in your story, right? This Parkview thing, this is a whole saga. We could do a whole podcast just around Parkview, by the way, because I think that story is so interesting.
And I feel like this is the first time I've ever spoken about it.
I didn't even know I didn't put 2 and 2 together, that you were even an educator during that time.
No.
Because it was a big thing that happened there. SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
I
had a lot of support from my father at the time.
MashaAllah.
Because obviously he's got all the experience. He's been through a lot of different stuff. So I was keeping him in the loop, and he was kind of advising me on what to do. And he was just saying, just blend in. I can't blend in, bro. You know what it's like when you're put in a place and you see all these kids who need that additional support, and you've seen all the other teachers who are. I mean, there's so many great teachers, but then there's others who are just in it for the money,
just clocking in,
and just clocking in. And what I noticed in especially in Birmingham is that they wouldn't get teachers who understand the students. Parkview did. So other schools would get teachers from outside the communities, and there'd be this culture clash. and if you don't understand the students, you are not going to relate to them, and you're not going to form this bond, you see. And when you have this connection, bro, they're going to listen to everything you say.
100%.
You know, so it's really important for schools to train up teachers who grew up within the local environment. Because and the best thing is, it's like, you know, just going shopping and you see students and then you just having, you know, it's just great, you know. But now because I've worked in so many schools, I meet so many students. I'm like, remind me what school.
You start forgetting who's who.
Remind me what school. But they're in the cafes. Yo, Mr. Bustami, free coffee for you. They're in the KFC. Yep. Yo, so I'm putting some extra chicken in for you. You know, they're always giving me additional stuff, and it's really nice. And what I do now is, because I also run a video production company, I offered it to all of them. It says, whenever you guys get married, hit me up. I'll film.
MashaAllah.
I'll come. We'll film the whole thing for you, and we'll really have a great time together, because it's, you know, I want to be involved in a lot of their in their lives, you know.
So now transitioning from professionally teaching to now incorporating art as your day-to-day, you know, this is now your focus. Talk a little bit, maybe we'll go back a little bit now and talk about Fursan, that experience of being in a trio, touring, and this is how we kind of interacted. I'll tell you a funny few stories. One is, I remember the first time I remember like seeing you and meeting you and actually like having a real conversation with you was at GPU.
Yes.
This was probably like, oh my gosh, I want to say 2011, maybe 2012, maybe before that, or around that ballpark, early 2010s-ish. Okay. You were the first person I saw repping Penny Appeal. You're the first person I saw with an orange t-shirt. And I remember asking you distinctly, like, why is it called Penny Appeal? You guys don't have pennies in the UK. Right? It's not a penny. They call it a pence.
Pence, yeah, that's right. You know, can I tell you a funny story? My friend just got recruited within Pennyfield because they were starting, and he had an office in Birmingham. And he said, Buster, we're going to London for this. And I grabbed my friends. I said, lads, free trip to London. We just need to wear the Pennyfield t-shirt.
Free trip, just get some clothes on.
Free trip to London, let's go. We jump on the coach, we go, put the t-shirt on, walk around with buckets. And even till today, there's a few individuals who used to work for Pennyfield. They come to me and they say, yeah, you were just wasting, you were doing nothing, you were just holding a bucket and just messing around. And they turn it into a joke, because even I seen him a few days ago at Muslim Fest. He travels from the UK. And it's just a running joke that I only jumped to work for Pennyfield just to get a free trip to London.
Hey, bro, you were the one who put it on the map. I saw you wearing it. I asked you about it.
Yep, I took my camera. I just made a press badge, and I was at the front taking pictures of all the artists. I was going backstage, you know, with all the artists, and I built connections with all of them. And as a young individual, I just wanted to be in that environment. So I did what I could to be in that environment, and we've become friends with all of these artists ever since that day. And you're one of the artists as well.
I mean, yeah. So meeting you there, first of all, GPU was an experience for people that, I mean, it's dead now,
Global
right?
Peace and Unity, one of the biggest.
It was massive. What are we talking about? Like maybe 30,000 people?
Yes.
Throughout the weekend?
It was very much like RIS.
Yeah, very much. Very different format. I think GPU had a lot more of the like kind of concert and, you know, so I think it was a much more like kind of bigger reach in that sense. RIS is a little bit more like kind of, you know, more knowledge based in that sense, if that makes sense, like more lecture based. It was a massive thing. I'm kind of shocked it still doesn't happen each year, you know? That sucks, because I feel like it could have survived. And it may not be a moneymaker, but for the community, I mean,
it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, even if people remember something called Islamic Relief Games, that was before GPU. So they would do the same sort of thing, but they'd also incorporate sports competitions. So every city would organize a football team, a basketball team, a netball team, and a hockey team. And they'd come together and really compete.
What hockey? What kind of hockey you guys talking about? Field hockey?
Field hockey.
Okay, not ice hockey.
No.
The real hockey.
We don't know how to ice skate.
Neither do I, but it's a Canadian thing.
But it was brilliant for the community.
Of course.
After that,
I know, subhanAllah.
Nothing happened.
So, but GPU, I mean, getting on stages like that, seeing that type of environment, I mean, it must have inspired you even to know that there was that kind of hunger and thirst in the community to see Islamic art.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we had a chance to go on tour together, who was it? It was myself, for you guys, Forsan. Who else was a part of it?
What were the Canadian brothers? What they call this too?
Sound of Reason.
That's it.
Sound of Reason. Yeah. From Montreal.
Montreal. Yeah.
So, two brothers. Yeah.
That
Shout out
was
to them.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a long time since
it has.
We've kind of connected, but it was that was a really, really nice tour.
Where did we go in Sweden? I know we did Stockholm, Malmo, Gothenburg. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember like it was interesting too, because I feel like even in Europe, they're a little bit behind in terms of the acceptance of like art. It's not a shot at them. It's just like, if I look at it from community perspectives, like, the US is usually the forerunner. They're usually the guys who, they will start events, they will start different unique kind of concepts, and everybody will catch on. Canadians will catch on. The Brits they don't innovate, but when they find something they like, they destroy it. I'll tell you the example of like these like cafes, these like dessert cafes.
Oh yeah.
I remember first going to the UK and seeing like one or two of them.
There's so many now.
Now they are
everybody's got a cafe. Everybody's like franchise is a big thing in the UK.
Yes.
Not just cafe, it's like just restaurants or stores. It's franchise is a big thing in the UK.
It is.
If you've got money, you can just buy and make more money.
Yeah. But then seeing art grow and progress to the point where like you have artists who are coming to these cities. Sometimes it's the first time Muslim members of the community have seen Muslim artists, because for a lot of them, they've been told, art is haram, singing is haram, everything is haram, haram, haram. So we come in and we try and show them like, hey, look, this is an alternative. This is what you can do. For a lot of them, I remember like even my first trips to Europe was very much like a learning experience for them. Like having to just open the doors and show people like, no, we can do this. I remember as a poet, the amount of slack I used to get. I can't even imagine as you guys, like what the things you might have heard. People used to insult me, left, right, and center. They used to, you're moving your hands too much. You're imitating rappers. You're this. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, subhanAllah, do you know poetry is our thing?
For sure.
Do you know poetry has this whole place in Islamic history? The Prophet ﷺ had a poet.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. While they were going from Mecca to Medina on Hijrah, the stomping of the camel, that was his rhythm. And he was I would say rhyming over it, but he was
Hassan ibn Thabit.
Yes, exactly. So he was reciting poetry over the rhythm of the camel's footsteps. And
this is one of the things that I found to be most frustrating, is that like people don't even know our artistic legacy. Where does art come from in terms of Islamic legacy? Like the Arabic is taught to this day through poetry, through Jahiliyyah poetry, right? The Arab loved poetry. This was the way in which they documented history. This was their like social media of the day, was poetry.
Yeah.
So our religion is based so much on early art.
And even if you think about the Atlantic slave trade, a lot of these, a third of slaves were Muslim from Africa.
Yes.
And they came to America and other parts of the world. But they took the deen with them. And when they were reciting the adhkar and the way they recite the Quran, it was with a melody. And a lot of the music we hear today really comes from that
legacy.
The legacy, because even the blues style of music is very much similar to the same melodic tones as the way the Africans used to recite the adhkar. So it's
I mean, you could, if you want to go far back enough, you could look at even the origins of hip hop. And hip hop and how it started, and the outdoor block parties, and then you have like the Jamaican reggae influence, and that African kind of influence of the drums, and so 100%. I think even within our legacy as Black Muslims, we see the influence of art. We see how art was used as a form of resistance. Art was used as a way to protest the status quo, right? It was a way for even slaves at that time to protest and speak up and say what they really felt. You have different art forms, like capoeira, for example, which is like a martial arts form, right? Which was this subliminal way of martial arts training that made it feel very artistic, but really was meant to teach and train the slaves of that time of how to defend themselves, right?
Yeah.
So as an artist, who are some of the early Islamic artistic influences that you found in your life? Like, who are the people that broke that barrier for you and made you feel like art was okay?
Fee, fi, fo, fum, boom, here I come. You don't know that start
Mecca
that verse?
Mecca to no, No, the Poetic Pilgrimage?
No.
No? Who?
Native Dean.
Oh, yeah. The
Minna
OG.
raps.
The OGs.
Minna raps.
The OGs.
If you had those cassettes in the 90s.
Cassettes? You guys don't know, they don't know what a cassette is?
So I was with them on the weekend now, Native Dean. It was so nice to see them again, you know, because after so many years. But they were the ones who really inspired me.
OGs, man.
OGs, man. And the thing is, it's like, I remember I went to my friend Eric's house and I was like, he had a stash of CDs, so many. I says, bro, I need some music. And he says, you're going to like this album. He pulled out the Outlandish album.
Oh.
And he gave it to me. And he said, just keep this one. I know you're going to like it. I was inspired by Outlandish.
Aisha.
Yeah, no, not Aisha.
No?
It was all the other ones where they were rapping in different styles and different melodies.
Different
languages. And for me, it wasn't, it was just phenomenal. Just knowing, you know, there's 2 Muslims within this group and they broke through mainstream.
Yes.
You know, number 1 with Aisha.
And they were where are they from? Denmark?
They're from Denmark.
That's not even like mainstream. Like they're in the bushes. And they somehow cracked the system. Amazing.
They really, really aced it. They knew what they were doing and it was amazing. Few years later, not few years, like fast forward to 2015, I got a call saying, we want you to be an opening act for Outlandish for a 10-city UK tour.
Wow. I
was like, hands down, the best tour I have ever been on with these brothers. They have become my mentors. And even with pursuing this career path, this artistic path, and I used to call them up just to get some guidance and advice. What can I do? How can I develop this even further? And even for them, it was like, because at the time, Fursan was done with, I became a teacher, and then I created a duo with myself and another individual, and even they flew in their manager, and the head of Sony in the UK and their manager came to our performance. They said, you need to see these guys. So they came down and they sat us down and said, you guys are absolutely phenomenal. We love everything you're doing. Just give us one hit. Give us one hit and we guarantee you're going to be super successful in this industry. We never.
Did the hit come about or?
We completely forgot. You know what it was? Because at that time, we had interest from about 6 or 7 different labels. And every single contract I did not like. I was...
Bunch of 360 deals, huh?
Yeah, man.
Sign up here, give us your soul.
I was clued on because I seen other individuals, other artists get sucked into that contract.
Yeah.
And today, they're still not releasing because they're not allowed to release. And we're talking about 10 years ago, 8 years ago. So I was clued on. And when they said, give us a hit, I kind of had an idea, you know. I didn't want to go into that mainstream world. I wanted to continue focusing on... it was easy with the Muslim at the event. I'm running because there weren't enough artists, so you're always getting booked. And I just love traveling. You know, traveling for free, getting paid. It was one of the most beautiful things.
Yeah.
So it was Outlandish, Native Dean.
Who's the biggest artist you met at that time? Who was like the guy you met and you were like, oh my God, like starstruck?
Mos Def, Dave Chappelle, who else? Those 2.
Did you ever meet Sami Yusuf?
Sorry, yes, there was Sami Yusuf. I remember he did one of the biggest concerts to raise money for Sudan. In one night, they raised £1 million.
Allahu Akbar.
So that was in one of the biggest stadiums in London, and that was 20 years ago when the situation in Darfur kicked off.
Yes.
So that Sami Yusuf, I met Mahir Zain before he was Mahir Zain.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
We should also because he's also from Sweden, right?
He's from Sweden, yeah.
Like, I wonder what the connection is with Europe. And you know what it is? My theory is that because Sweden is a smaller Muslim community than the UK, obviously, right? Like a lot more Muslims in the UK. But I feel like being in those smaller European countries, the community's not as large. They're forced to kind of maybe stick together or work together or support one. I don't know what it is. It kind of reminds me of like South Africa. You know, the Muslims there did so well under apartheid. right? Because they really didn't have a choice. They couldn't work with other. I don't know what it is about the European artists. I feel like they do really well out of necessity. It's like they have a more of a hunger because they don't have as much, maybe as big as an audience to.
And I feel as well, because they have access to all of these musicians, because they are very creative in the Scandinavian regions,
Right?
So they will just perform in I wouldn't say Islamic songs, but they will just perform
Just mainstream.
just mainstream music, and they will develop their skill set from that aspect. And then once they come into the Islamic industry, they're ready made. They there's no flaws. They know what they need to do. Whereas I feel like now people don't have that musical education. They learn Quran. Oh, I have a great voice.
Yeah,
Bram,
it's not the same thing.
It's not the same.
No, it's not.
And they don't have access to individuals who play instruments and other singers. It's a solo journey.
You know what I think our community lacks the most is opportunities for Muslim artists to fail. Right? There's not enough platforms where you can just hone your craft. You got to get on. You got to fail a lot
100%
before you can do well.
Yeah.
Right. So even the notion, I remember, I think it's one of Malcolm Gladwell's books. He talks about the Beatles and how the Beatles got their start, and they would perform in like these pubs, and I don't know, it was in Liverpool or someplace. They would go to these like far off places and do like 100 hours of performing in a week, and they would come back the next week, and they got so good just off performing in these like bad venues, right? That once they got to the mainstream, once they got their shot, they were fine tuned, right?
Yeah.
I have a similar experience in the sense that I performed professionally as a poet. I was doing slam competitions. And then I was introduced to the Muslim crowd. By then, I already done my 10,000 hours.
You know, the thing is, I knew who you were before you were Boonaa. When you were...
Oh, you working with the government, Akhi? How you know all this stuff?
No, it's like... I was watching your videos, and this was before you became this poet. You had a great band, and you had the Sudanese guy in the drums.
They don't know about that.
They don't know about
Walid
that.
Abdul Hamid. Yeah, that's my brother. Yeah, mashallah.
So I really remember that. And I was like, this guy is phenomenal. Your style, like if you continued that, wallahi, you really would have blown through the mainstream.
That was supposed to be my plan. You know, I was actually on that trajectory where I had a manager, I had a whole team, but they were modeling me after Kanan.
Exactly.
So Kanan was the archetype, right?
Yes.
If for those of you who don't know, Kanan, famous Somali, singer, rapper, poet. He had that famous song, Waving Flag, When I Get Older. So I remember actually opening up for him for his second album. And like the doors were open for me at that point. It was like, all right, here's the blueprint. Like you just got to do what he did and da-da-da. But I remember it's a funny story, but I remember the day of his album release party, a Muslim sister hit me up and she's like, she just started wearing hijab. And she asked me, hey brother, I just started wearing hijab. Do you think it's a good idea for me to come to this event? And mind you, this was at a club, right? So I was like, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea for you to be there.
But why are you there?
So then that's what I asked myself. I was like, if I'm telling her not to come, why am I there? Why am I on the poster? Right? So it actually, even being in that experience, having that experience, it taught me a lot about, the mainstream. I learned a lot about how I had an internship at BMG Records, right? Like all these things in my life, which now I look back on and I was like, oh, this set me up for where I am now. That's why when I look at your story and I look at the educational component, I look at even the sports and all these things, like it's no coincidence. This is from the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Allah has a plan. He knows exactly where we're going.
Wallahi, subhanallah.
And the thing is, it's like at the moments, we're like, why is nothing opening up for me? Why am I failing at this? But all you need to do is just stick to it and just continue because you're failing for a reason. You need to understand, rejection and how to climb over certain obstacles. Because if you don't know how to do that, it's this is your education. Because let me tell you something, once you get to later down the line, when you've developed and you're creating really great content, now you know how to overcome these challenges.
But like you and I had those experiences, I feel like, to even fail publicly, to do events.
100%.
I've bombed so many times. I mean, good bombing. We're not talking about that other kind of bombing. No, we're peace-loving people. We don't talk about that here.
Like I even remember people, the organizer coming onto the stage, just going to the sound guy and just turning the music off.
In the middle of your set.
In the middle of our set.
La ilaha illallah.
Because the sheikh is walking in.
Okay, he's here. We gotta be halal now.
Yeah. or even like they just jump on stage. Oh, thank you, bro. We need to just finish the song. So we just continue. Like, bros, carry on. Ignore this guy. We can't just stop halfway.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways you fail, and especially it was very expensive back then compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
To find a producer, studio.
Oh my God, it's
video
impossible.
production. Oh,
can you imagine shooting it on now we got DSLRs, we got all these. Back in the day, it was like proper camcorders, and like you needed to have a certain level of knowledge. It was very expensive even to shoot or produce anything.
So that's why Fursan, we never made any videos. We were just like, let's just tour.
How many albums do you guys put out?
Just before we separated, we created one. It was an EP. But we had 6 songs, and those 6 songs rided us for 4 years, bro.
That's all you need, man. You need like a good 4 or 5 songs, and if you can do it well and milk it, you're good.
Yeah, and you have to have very catchy choruses because and obviously we had the drums, and sometimes we didn't even have to sing. We'll just play the drums, and it was just the vibe, and then It was good, memorable moments.
Alhamdulillah. So being able to then have that experience as an educator, moving on to becoming a group member and a performer and traveling and meeting all these different artists, what was this switch which made you think about theater, right? Because theater is a very different discipline. So where did theater come up in this equation? Okay,
just before I get to that, once I left Fursan, I decided to go into teaching. And then I thought, and then I decided. Then I came across this artist who came to our studio. Small Yemeni kid. He had a good voice, but he didn't know what to do with it. And I just said, "Yalla, Bismillah." And this guy his name is Muad.
And the famous.
Yes. So I kind of guided him everything I knew within Fursan in terms of recording songs, traveling, all the networks I had within across the world, and for performances. Bismillah, Muad, yallah, let's go have fun. Muad only went to Yemen before that, from Birmingham to Yemen. But when we were together as common souls, we just went global.
Allah.
We had so much fun. We even, highlights was touring with Mo Amma.
Oh wow!
The comedian,
yeah.
So that was in Scandinavia, and there's so many different artists, and we only created one song, which was "Stand By Me" at the time, and just one song became a hit, and we just toured everywhere, and then we started creating more songs. We created an album together, and then I just got bored of performing, so I was like, "Yalla, Muad, I'm gonna be your guy behind the scenes. I'll do everything for you, but I don't want to be on stage no more." So I developed him, and then I thought, wait, I'm quite good at what I'm doing. I got a bit more time. So I got a singer from Malaysia, brought a female singer, brought her to the UK, started working with creating all her songs, and brought another singer from Morocco, lives in Belgium. So they all live in Birmingham, because that's where I was based. And I was funding it all myself, and create all their songs, getting them into concert. Like Iman, for instance, in the 8 months we recorded about 9 songs, and she performed in Singapore, Sweden, USA, Canada, and in just a very short space of time. Toucan, same thing. We got him to open. He was the opening act for Mahir Zain in Spain, and Italy. So that was the thing. And then people started saying, "Oh, you're a record label now." I was like, "No, just want to help." And then I formed it as a company. It became it is called Primero Entertainment.
Right.
And through that, I thought, I'm quite good at being the guy behind the scenes. Let me help these guys become really successful. Primero released Muad's debut album in 2020. And then through that, I was very, very interested. I used to do a lot of theater as growing up, and I just seen the market, and I was getting bored of just working with singers and seeing them perform on stage. It's like, I've seen it done over and over again, the same events. It starts to get boring. You know what it's like.
Oh, very much so.
It is boring. Look at, there's no the audience are not there to see the artist. They're just there to eat the food because it's promoted as a delicious 3-course meal
or a fundraiser, or even worse. Astaghfirullah.
So you know, they I just got really bored and I just started writing, and then I started telling all these artists, guys, I got a theater play, it's a musical. I want you to sing. Let's you know, I want you to be involved in this. Let's expand on your skill sets, because it's going to open more doors in the future. Don't just be a nasheed singer. Don't just be a singer. Look, it is open. The industry is open. We are like 15 years behind mainstream. So whatever you do creatively and you do it good and you do it well, you will have an audience. So theater was the thing for me, musical theater. Created, my first one was Eid with the Neighbors. And
what was the character you played again?
I played Papa Buster.
Papa Buster.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Papa Buster. So he's like an old American, uncle. All the young people love it. My kids love it.
And I seen the pictures. Obviously, we did a similar stage play here, but you know, you get into this old character costume, and you got the gray hair, and the walking cane,
and then I got Muav to become an old character as well,
right?
And his character was called Bob, and he was an old grumpy British man, and just putting them together, it was hilarious. So we did it in Canada for the first time, and then around the UK, and then now I'm still unsure what to do with this character. So I he's
quite a funny character.
He is, so I parked him up for now.
Okay.
But he will come back. I don't know which audience is he gonna reach. Is it the younger kids, the middle age, or the older in the age range? So I'm still trying to figure that. So
well, I think, look, I mean, for you as a playwright, because I consider that to be, you know, that's a play at that point. Like, you were, you know, even the Eid with the Neighbors, and then we'll talk about obviously this King Najashi project that you put together. I think that's a world that is so under-tapped right now, so under-resourced. Musical theater in general in the Muslim space, right? Like, alhamdulillah, we have a lot of calligraphy artists, we have visual artists, we have now singers, but theater to me and film are two areas where our community has just scratched the surface.
100%. And you need to remember, theater back home, from where all our parents come from, is a big thing, especially in all the Arab countries. It's a big deal
countries. In Sudan.
Oh yeah, it's theater, masrahiyya, just a story being told on stage. That's people's entertainment. Yeah. People would go out to just watch a theater play in these Arab countries. And then they come to the West and they completely forget that. They completely forget that. They don't want to support their
children. And then everything is haram. Meanwhile, back home it was halal somehow. And then all of a sudden here, your fiqh changed.
So I thought, let's do it. So with Eid with the Neighbors, we managed to tour it across 12 cities in the UK. We had about over 5,000 people came, and we had a cast of 12 actors, all Muslims. Some of them have never acted before, a mixture of singers, actors, rappers, musicians. All together, it made the show. And then from that, I thought, okay, I'm onto something. And then I wrote a few stuff for school, because I was in school. I wrote about 7 different school productions. All the kids in school were acting in it. It was great. And then I just thought, you know what? The Muslim black representation in Islam, in the arts, you don't really see it. Especially black Muslim stories. Big up to Mustafa Briggs. Because the book that he released,
Beyond
Bilal is absolutely amazing, because it kind of touches on, all the his Muslim historical figures who've really made a huge difference to the religion. So I read that and I thought, I think it's time to bring Muslim historical figures to the stage, so we can actually learn from their stories. So the first one was Ayuba Suleiman Diallo. So he was a slave from West Africa. He was an imam, and then he was sold as a slave, and he went to the States, and then he went to the UK, and he became a free man, because you just need to look him up. All the research is
he was like a scholar.
He was a scholar.
Like Hafid, I believe. He wrote the Quran by hand.
He wrote the Quran by hand 3 times from memory. More recently, a few years ago, one of the Qurans that he wrote was sold for about $33,000 in auction. And he was born in he's from the 1700s,
Right.
and even till today his portrait is in the National Gallery in London.
Yes.
Because it really represents him being a black Muslim slave, but he was free.
But also one thing about his story that I think it's kind of sad, but like the fact that he was this educated shocked white people. Right?
Yeah.
The fact that he was a scholar, he could read, he could write, he knew his religion, he knew this debunked the theory of these white, slave owners that these people were lower class or black people, were not they could not comprehend higher thought.
Yes.
When they met him, it threw them off guard.
Threw them off big time.
Yeah.
And from that, there's so many elements of inspiration within his story.
Yes.
That we can actually take and embody and add value to our lives just from certain segments of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was as a musical theatre production. It was a one-man show. First time I've ever done a one-man show, and it really did a great job. I did it here in Canada 12 months ago, and then I took it to about 200 schools in the UK. Received extremely well.
MashaAllah.
We do the performance, and then we do workshop, a Q&A with the students, and they really, really enjoy it because they have never heard of this figure before. And from that, I thought, okay, who else can I write about? I started on Mansa Musa, but his story was a bit more trickier to write.
I think you need a lot of money to pull that story off too, because man was balling, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You need the bricks of gold that he leaves, because he essentially changed the currency of the world.
The currency
when
of the
he
world.
went to Hajj.
When he went to Hajj, he was just giving out gold bars to everyone, and he collapsed the Egyptian economy.
Yeah,
and his stories. But then again, his brother.
Oh, he had a brother.
He had a brother who was the king before Mansa was.
Okay.
But then he went on a journey because he was an explorer. So he went on a journey and he passed away on that journey.
Oh, wow.
So he paved the way for his brother to go on the same journey as he did. So then Mansa became the king, and then he was like, I'm going to continue the journey that my brother started on.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I thought, Mansa Musa's story is amazing. Let me park it up for a minute. King Najashi.
Allahu Akbar.
East Africa.
Hey, brother. Now you're talking my language, brother.
Oh, yes.
Now you're in my neighborhood, brother. I love it.
And we know who King Najashi is.
Yes.
But we don't really know his story and his history and his background. We just know, he was the king that the Prophet Muhammad sent the Muslims. Said, he's a righteous king. He's a just king. He's going to protect you guys. Go see him. That's all we know about him. But there's so much more about this guy's story.
There is.
And this is all incorporated within the musical theatre show that we've created. And what's amazing was, I thought, it's too much for the show to be a one-man show. I can't just be King Najashi on my own, because there's so many different elements. So then we did a casting call here in Canada, and we just managed to get some actors, singers and rappers, and we're doing rehearsals online for a few weeks. I feel like I have the best cast for this production.
Nice.
Absolutely phenomenal. They came, they embraced their characters, and they just threw themselves at it, because I thought, this is a great opportunity for me to explore musical theatre in this scene, because it's a new industry.
There's no one really giving opportunities
like that. Nobody's giving opportunities, and nobody is really creating musical theatre.
Right.
So they just jumped on it, and we met 5 days before the actual performance. But we've been rehearsing online for a few weeks. And the first time we met was 5 days before the main stage.
Wow.
And 16 hours a day we were together. Going back and forth in the studio rehearsals. And, shout out to the team at Muslim Fest, because they really, really, really supported the project and supported the script. And they were with us throughout the whole journey. And we performed it on Friday night. And let me tell you, bro, it was the best feeling any artist can ever have. 12,000 people were there.
Allahu Akbar.
And these guys have never performed in front of that many people. And the best thing is just knowing their families were there, and the whole of Mississauga was there, and
The whole GTA, the whole Greater Toronto area. Yeah.
it was phenomenal.
MashaAllah.
Absolutely. I have hundreds of messages saying every song we want you to we want to turn it into a soundtrack. We are still listening to we're still singing the songs that you guys sang on stage. So I felt like if we have to create a show, it has to be created on the level of mainstream. Hamilton, the musical, is my inspiration. The writer of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I've been following for the last 15 years. And I thought, even before Hamilton, he wrote a production called In the Heights.
Yes.
And that was groundbreaking. So I wanted to do exactly the same thing as what he was doing, and bring Islamic stories to light. Hamilton won so many awards, it broke records,
100%.
and it's touring globally. Why can't we do the same for Muslim stories?
And we have such a plethora of stories that the world has never experienced yet, right? I even think about, remember that stage play, Joseph and the Technicolor Dream? Well, there was some story, some play based on Yusuf alayhi salam's life, but they call it Joseph and the Code or whatever. Dude, Yusuf alayhi salam's story is a movie.
Yeah.
It's the craziest drama. Like, imagine your brothers take you out into the wilderness and throw you in a well. Like that, even just to start from that point. Like, and then we have that all throughout our tradition. You know, like just stories upon stories upon stories that we as Muslims, like we talk about them in passing, or you hear some stories on the minbar or khutbah, whatever. But I think like storytelling should be our thing that we own.
Because the young people are not going to listen to a sheikh. I mean,
they will, but not in the same way.
Not in the same way in terms of, I mean, my father, Allah yarhamu, we'd have these discussions constantly. He's like, Abdullah, you know, like, when are you going to stop doing this?
When are you going to get a real job?
When are you going to get a real job, you know? I'm like, I'm having fun, I'm making money.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, no, get a real job. But I said to him, what me and what you are doing, we're on the same journey. You're giving dawah through the traditional academic route. I am going to give dawah through entertainment and art. It's going to be longer, it's going to be harder, because we have to go all the way round, hook them, and then slowly we'll bring them in. And now I'm seeing it. And now our Muslim stories need to be brought to life
100%.
On stage and on screen. Because if we're not telling it, then they're going to be telling it the wrong way.
And they say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. All right? If we're not the ones telling our stories, if we're not the ones who are, you know, crafting these narratives, other people are going to do it for us.
Yeah.
And they're not going to care how we really feel. You know, it's just about dollars. It's about what works well. It's about their agenda, right? So I think what we're doing as artists, as storytellers, and as Muslims, using art as a mechanism to teach about Islam
100%
is the future of dawah.
Yeah.
I believe, right?
I believe
I'm
that
clearly
too.
very biased.
But I feel like, you know, myself, yourself, there was also Muslim Bilal as well.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because
OG.
we all started together.
Yeah.
And everyone has taken their place and thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give my dawah and spread the message in this art form. And more people need to do this, because as a nasheed artist, you're going to get bored eventually. You're going to get bored of just being on stage on your own. There's nothing better than being on stage with your friends, and nothing better than actually working together on a project that is going to be meaningful and inspirational, and it's just, you know, just seeing the faces of people, because they have just been given they've just had a spark, because they've been inspired by something that they've seen on stage. And as a facilitator of that, it's one of the best feelings ever. It's like being back in school. But now I'm not teaching in school, I'm teaching on stages.
But you're still teaching.
But I'm still teaching. And it's the best thing. And who's going to tell me, let me see your lesson plan?
What lesson plan?
What lesson plan?
Yeah.
I do it on my own terms.
There you go.
Which is the best thing ever.
100%.
And even the work that you're doing with Purple Don't Cry, absolutely phenomenal. And the films that you've
Have you seen
together.
Purple Don't Cry yet? I gotta send you the link if you haven't seen it yet.
I've seen the trailer, and
I gotta send you the whole film.
100%.
This world of ours, I think, as creative artists and as entrepreneurs, as people that see a future in our field, I think we need to, first of all, work together. We need to see the common goal. This is something that I learned even working with Al-Maghrib Institute, seeing the vision of Sheikh Mohammed al-Sharif, Allah yarhamu, how he made this entire institute and brought all these people together. And as soon as everyone was in place and he had the right staff and everything, he said, alhamdulillah, and he moved on to a different project. That to me was the craziest thing of all. Because once we establish these institutions, we do the right thing, put the right people in place, create a situation where we can win. And then, mashallah, tabarakallah, you create and they will come. You build and they will show up, right? So I think now the journey that we're on, people are going to look back at this 10, 15 years from now and be like, wow, I saw King Najashi on stage when I was 10 years old at Muslim Fest, and now I'm this Oscar winning. And you're not going to know, subhanAllah, the impact until years pass, because we are subliminally up planting seeds in all these young people, these young kids, to let them know, art is okay. It's halal. There's a way of doing it, right? And I think inspiring our communities to tell our stories.
Yeah.
More than anything, we're building culture.
That's the main thing.
Right? Because we know what Sudanese art and culture is like. We know how people dance in Sudan. We know the food they eat. We know what is British Muslim culture? What is Canadian Muslim culture? What is American Muslim identity? This is the part of the equation we as Muslims and minority countries, we haven't figured it out yet, right? And I think what we're doing organically is crafting Western Muslim culture and identity. And I think this is what's going to keep our kids as Muslims.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Because they now feel an ownership. They feel like I have an identity. It's confusing enough, akhi. My kids are, I'm from Oromia. My wife's Eritrean. They're born in Canada. They asked my son in school, where are you from? He said, I'm from Injera. Right? The kid's confused. He doesn't know where he's from. And I was confused too. But alhamdulillah, what they have now that we didn't have back in the day is they have a strong foundation of Islam.
Yeah.
They have a culture which they can buy into. They have, we know what we dress like. We know what our food is like. And I think, again, in 10, 15 years' time, people are going to look back at this moment. And we're going to look back at this moment, inshallah, if Allah gives us life and we're still around, yes, right? Yes. We're going to look back and be like, wow, that was crazy. Touring in Sweden? But these guys didn't even speak English. What were we doing there? But we planted a seed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now there are artists who are coming out of the UK. I mean, it's funny, as you're talking about Mu'adh, I'm thinking I had the same experience with Ilyas.
Yes.
It's literally the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we found another younger brother in the struggle and we were sick of being solo and rolling alone. Hey, you got to take him on board and let him learn. And now I see Ilyas giving birth to other artists.
I see Mu'adh doing the exact same thing.
Allahu Akbar.
Working with other artists and putting them on the stage.
Yeah. Isn't that trippy?
I was like, oh, wow.
You're like a grandfather now of art, right? Think about it that way. Like we were in a position where we didn't have that mentorship. We didn't have those older figures looking back.
We had each other.
That's it. And we were across the world, right? Now in our own neck of the woods, we're accommodating, we're meeting them where they're at. We're trying to build them and grow them. And inshallah, I hope that communities look at what you have done and what, me and other people have done. And we start to build those foundational blocks.
Just to allow this art form to be acceptable.
Yes.
And to not shun if a young Muslim child wants to go into art acting or wants to pursue a career in the arts. Now we are paving the way. There is an opportunity to become successful. Not just being successful, you are needed.
Yes. You are needed, and your story and your skill set and everything. It's funny, in my household, right? My wife and my wife is a teacher. Okay, I'm an artist. In our household, our kids come back with our report cards. We don't look at math and science. We're like, how did you do in art? I look at my son. You got bad in drama? Really? And I'm an actor? Like, it looks bad on me, Like, so even as a parent, I have a completely different focus. Like, I want my kids to do something big. And I'd love for them to, obviously I'm biased. I'd love for them to pursue arts. If they can pursue whatever they want, I don't mind. But like, even to have that notion of a Muslim parent who is okay with the arts and in fact wants their children to do well in that category.
It's so important for Muslim kids to be involved in the arts because you're not just the amount of skill set you're going to develop. Confidence.
Yes.
Speaking in front of people.
Public speaking,
presentation skills.
Creativity,
and just working together as a group.
100%.
Teamwork.
Yes.
This is needed in every profession.
These are life skills.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, and the art really teaches you all these things. Mm-hmm. And I really want to see more kids in communities going to acting classes, drama classes, singing classes, drumming classes, just all these extracurricular activities. It's not just maths, English, science.
Right.
It's just something for them to really explore, because they might enjoy this right now, and they need that extra support to kind of pursue it.
So we talked about your story. We identified some of the main characters, some of the villains, some of the people that some of the obstacles you had. What is your, and I want to say ending, but what is the next chapter in your story? You are doing what you're doing now. Where do you see yourself? Where do you see Bromero? Where do you see the entire entity that you've developed 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Like, what is the blueprint? Where do you want to take things?
In about 10 years, because Bromero tells stories through music, theater, and film, all these different art forms. But we want to be there in about 15 years' time and be like, 50% of the nasheed singers who are here today have gone through a Bromero program. This
like an educational
program,
Nice.
like a blueprint in how to become successful within this field.
Wow.
Because after I released Muad's album in COVID, that's when my father passed away.
Allah yarhamu.
I mean, and I said to Muad, I need a break. But you know what you need to do, bro? Go and do it. I've been teaching you this for the past few years. This is the blueprint. And that was when he extremely blew up. That's, during that period. And he's on a trajectory, alhamdulillah. So we want to continue doing this with many different artists and create many different educational facilities in different countries, artist academies.
Could you imagine that? And a Bromero Muslim Artist Academy.
Everywhere.
Allah
This is the vision. This is the dream, inshallah. And through that, it's understanding filmmaking, understanding acting, choir. We set up a choir group in Birmingham, and we want this to become one of the best choir groups in the country, especially for Muslims. But at the same time, we also want it to compete with other choir groups like gospels and stuff like that, because when we don't do it the right way. So we are we're putting
everybody's out of tune. Everybody.
So we're putting all our resources into it so it can really inspire our own community to like, yo, look, there's some girls and some boys your age singing. You should do the same thing. So the vision is big, and everywhere we go, a lot of people say, alhamdulillah, Bustami, we believe in the vision. We want to support it in any way. And so that just shows that, because the intention is pure. Right. And the goal is not just for us to become successful. The goal is to see this industry become respected.
Allahu Akbar.
And it's an avenue for people to learn more about the deen. And it's really important. There's not enough avenues for people to kind of explore. So Bromero, inshallah, collaborating with yourself and your organization.
We got some fire in the kitchen, brother.
We have some major tours coming up.
Inshallah.
Various different aspects of art forms, and it's gonna be. I feel like Boonaa, I just graduated from university.
Allahu Akbar.
Right now, and what's the next step? I'm gonna get the job.
I feel like honestly, we haven't even started yet.
We haven't. That's why I feel like I just graduated.
Yeah.
And now I have all the skills.
And now the infrastructure is coming together.
Yes.
Now there's entities outside of our just artistic space that are putting us in positions where we can do that mission.
For sure. And a lot of these academic institutes, Islamic, they understand the importance of having creatives working alongside them. So we work together really well. And I'm very, very excited for the future of Islamic. What would you call it?
Islamic entertainment, Islamic art. I think we should call it Halalywood. That's Omar Reagan's company.
That's Omar Reagan. Yeah.
But this movement is bigger than just his company. This is no offense to him. I love his name. That's why I'm saying we should all just embrace it.
Yes.
It should be the movement.
Yes.
I'm calling it that. I mean, it's too late. We documented it. It's halas. So Omar, Halalywood is officially everyone.
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
And musicals, we don't call them musicals. It's nasheedicals.
Nasheedical. Allahu Akbar. And I got one too. When we do, inshallah, we do Quranicals as well. That's the next stop.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, inshallah.
They're not ready.
No, they're ready. They're ready, inshallah. And I'm sure everybody watching here now is ready to learn more about you. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to find you online?
I'm on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube is on the Bromero, but Instagram, it's bin underscore Bustami. Bin means son of Bustami.
Right. And what about Bromero? Is there a specific page that they can go to?
So Bromero is also on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, just under Bromero, which is spelled BRIMERO. And there's a lot of great content coming out on that channel.
So everybody, make sure you check him out. Make sure you support the entire movement. And I'm honestly, brother, I'm so excited that we even got this chance to sit down with you. I know it was super last second, it's super disorganized, but that is the Muslimi way. We just make it happen. There, where there's a will, there's a way.
And it's just the best thing is this overseas collaboration.
Alhamdulillah.
We have to work together.
Wallahi, akhi, we do.
I'm over there, you're over here. It's like it's difficult to work because we're all on the same journey.
We got to build, man. That's why I tell people we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
And we got to support one another. What you can do, I can do. What I can do, maybe there's things where I can fill certain gaps for you, right? And I think collectively, what we're doing is inspiring the rest of our teammates to step up.
100%.
We have so much talent in our ummah that is being underutilized. And people don't know their own power. They don't know what they can even do. So when we do come across the Mu'az and the Ilyases and all these people, alhamdulillah, we're in a position now where we can inspire them and motivate them. But could you imagine all the people out there who have yet to be in contact? I feel like in my position, I'm like the Morpheus of the art scene. I show up and I give these guys, I give them the two options. I give them the red or the blue pill. Seriously. And I tell them, Akhi, you can continue doing whatever you're doing and close your eyes and pretend everything's okay, or you can join this battle. Because we're fighting for the hearts and souls and the culture of our community and the future generations.
And the thing is, as an artist, there's three things. Are you doing it for money? Are you doing it for fame? Or are you doing it to keep a legacy? Or
are you doing it for women? That's another... We don't have enough time to get into that, but there's a lot of brothers out there, a lot of very thirsty brothers, man. They forgot the plot, akhi. They don't know,
But Allah's got a plan and He don't include them in our plan.
Allah protect us all, inshallah. Allah protect you. Allah bless you in your efforts. Allah grant you tawfiq and everything you're doing, inshallah. And Allah make our legacy one that positively influences our communities for generations to come, inshallah.
Ameen. Boonaa, thank you.
Habibi.
It was a long time coming.
Alhamdulillah. I'm happy that you had time to spend with us, and I'm happy everyone had a chance to listen to this conversation. Make sure you stay tuned, inshallah, for future episodes of the Muslimi Experience. I'm your host, Brother Boonaa Mohammed, signing off. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.